those pressures are changing on the top right up here, and I'm not really sure what all those mean. I'll have to kind of do a little bit more research. But that is the pressure going through those hoses, I guess, back to the brakes, but not sure why that would be since I'm using the engine brake and not the lap brakes. Anyways, here comes our speed limit change right up here by this road. Let me get the horn again. We've gone about 12.5 miles, so we're getting pretty close to Flint. Looks like it's getting lighter out there to the northeast. As we've driven through the night, stars are starting to disappear. Pretty soon the sun will be coming up. So again, we're just coasting right now, and look at this train. I mean, it's not just coming to a stop like you lift off the gas in your car. You know, you'll come to a stop fairly quickly. You feel yourself slow down. This thing has got so much weight and momentum. It says, okay, you can take out your foot off the gas, or in this case, your hand off the throttle, but I'm not slowing down. In about half a mile, we'll be able to speed up to 30.
Detector milepost 0.0.
I'm glad I actually got back into these scenarios in TRAINZ 2010. I started building my own route, essentially almost what we're doing here. On this scenario, mine was going from Toledo, Ohio to up to the Detroit, Michigan area, and I was building it originally to scale, and realized after building it that when I was running it, it just took too long to do that at realistic speeds, and if you wanted to do some switching along the way, that took even longer, so I'm scaling it back. I'm redesigning it to quarter scale. I'm considering maybe doing half scale, so we'll have to see which one works out the best.
Detector milepost.
One of the neat things about this game, though, is if you do that scale to say quarter time, quarter distance, you can actually adjust the speed of the game so that rather than have a 24-hour day, you can have it, you know, 1/4 of that, or a 6-hour day, or a half of that, or a 12-hour day. So if you scale it to, you know, your distance to 1/2, and then double your time, even though you're going a shorter distance, it's kind of realistic as far as the time passage goes. So even though I'm planning on scaling my route down by 1/2 or 1/4 by accelerating the time, it will give me a real sensation of the actual time it would take to do that. That's kind of the neat thing about this game. So we're down to 12 miles an hour, a little bit on the slow side. A little bit of gas here. See that cop just run right in front of me there? Unbelievable. Yeah, that sky's definitely getting lighter out there toward the east. We've been driving through the night. Pretty soon we'll be pulling into our home yard of Flint, Michigan, and this evening's trip will be over. You know, to tell you the truth, these cars that are in the foreground there, I'm not sure what they are. I really don't recognize them as being common around here, so I really don't know. You know, they're too short to be auto racks. Like I said, those have 3 layers of, they're maybe twice as high as those. 2 layers of cars on them, maybe 3, I don't know. And the gondolas I see around here that are covered usually have steel. They don't look quite like those, so I'm not really sure what those are. If anybody has any ideas, you can make a posting, let me know. So a mile and a half, we're going to have to be down at 20 miles an hour. Now you notice that signal that we just passed was red over green. I've seen some tonight that were green over red. Again, I'll have to go back and look at my little rule book for operating the train on the chassis system to see exactly what they mean. Fast here, so we'll just put it into neutral and see how long it takes us to slow down. And I've got a yellow signal in about half a mile. And what the yellow signal means is that the signal on the far side of that is going to be red. So that's telling me, okay, you can go, but go at a speed where you can stop by the next signal. Having done this scenario a long time ago, I know I'm going to have to stop and essentially kind of get out of the train and go up and throw some switches before it will change those signals for me. But we'll do that when we get there. How much slop real engineers have when they're driving their train. So if the posted speed limit is like 40 miles an hour, how close do they actually get to that speed? There's my yellow signal. It's flashing at me. So the next signal is red, so I'm going to hit idle. And that's actually coming up pretty quick here, so I'm going to hit the brakes. And hopefully we'll stop this thing so that I don't bust through that signal. Oh, the next signal is yellow, never mind. I said red. Takes a while for all those cars to release their brakes before it'll let me get going again, which is another disadvantage of using the lap system. It takes a while. There's a bit of a lag. Okay, now as I cross that signal now, the next one's red, and that's going to be in 1.5 miles. So I misinterpreted what I saw there. My fault. Definitely tell it's lighter sky out there now. So we have driven through the night and the sun should be coming up before too long. We do have to be at 20 miles an hour here. Probably not going to make that limit. Anyways, do real train engineers nail their speeds dead on, or are they a little bit slow, a little bit fast? I'm sure there's probably some signal, electronic signal in the cab that goes back to headquarters, and they probably get rated on how well they do, and maybe that determines their pay raises or promotions or something like that. So 1/2 mile and we have to stop. Again, I am not real good at these braking systems. Yeah, I can turn the locomotive brake on and off. That's pretty much a no-brainer. But as far as the lap braking, I think you got to arm it and then you apply it. So we've got about 4/10 of a mile before we have to stop. So let's just kind of cruise up to it slowly. And that's one of those things about the yellow signal. It doesn't tell you you have to stop. But it wouldn't be real smart to go blasting in there at the speed limit, knowing that at the next signal you may have to stop. So 2/10 of a mile. Let's get this train started to slow down here. In fact, I think this is the turn that kind of brings us into the McGrew Yard, which should be just ahead. And there's my red signal, and I gotta stop before I get there. Looks like we shouldn't have too much difficulty doing that, but just in case. Lap brakes on now, and that should stop us pretty efficiently. I think if I used just the engine, I don't think we would have done it. So now what I'm going to do is come up here and hit this button, which is free roaming camera. And that lets me move around, and I'm going to zoom along the track here and look at switches and stuff. That one is thrown correctly. That one is thrown correctly. That one is not. So that one's correct. We're going to switch tracks there. That one is correct. That one's correct. So essentially what we want to do is enter the yard. Here we got to throw that one. And we want to go on to this track right here. So I think all of our switches are thrown correctly now. In fact, we got a yellow proceed with caution, so I think we're good to go. Take the brake off. And we now have a proceed with caution signal. To the McGrew Yard. far enough forward to clear the track so that we can get there. And you can see how much brighter it is. In fact, on the bridge in the distance, you can see all those commuters going to work this morning. It is now 5:30 in the morning, and they probably have to be at work by about 6 o'clock or so. Our workday is just about over. So let's pull this thing back to idle, and we're just going to coast into the yard here. We should be turning onto that first track. Right there. We can watch that string of cars coming in behind us. Almost home. Building over on the right, there's the diesel facility where we have to end up after we uncouple from our train. Zip to the back here so we can see how far along we've gone. If we'll go all the way back to the last car, we'll just follow it in. That way we'll know when to stop. These guys commuting to work this morning are going to be late because they're beeping the horn at us. Going to be late because of our train. I think we've all been on the receiving end of that, eh? Okay, now those crossing guards should go up and should be on their merry way. We're doing 4 miles an hour. That last car in our train is almost on the track number 1, and we need to clear this track right here so that we can get around our train and get over to that diesel shed. So we are almost clear. Let's put it into neutral. Surprise, and if we need to use a brake, but it's going to stop itself. I might need to go up a little bit. It looks too close. That's better, so we'll stop there. Now, what we can do is go back up to the locomotives and we'll uncouple. And the way you uncouple, you got to bring that little thing down on the bottom, go down here and hit that button, which is the toggle decoupling mode, and I'm going to go and unhook the train. You saw that the knuckle there turned red when I got over it, so I've just unhooked our train. Now we're unhooked from the rest of the train, and we're going to pull our locomotive forward. leave the train there, and we'll work our way back to the diesel shed. I'll make sure that these switches are thrown correctly in front of us. That one needs to be switched. That needs to be switched. No, that's where that should be. That one is correct. That one's correct. So we are coasting at 14 miles an hour. I'm not giving it any gas. You can see the throttle is 0. That's how much momentum this thing has. Now once our train clears that switch, we'll be able to reverse and go back the other way. So I got the engine locomotive brake on. We'll take that brake off, we'll throw it into reverse, and we'll give it some gas and we'll go back the other way. Now being courteous engineers, we're going to make sure we leave all the switches the way they're supposed to. I think I just turned that one by accident. That's okay. That's okay. We're moving on the fast side, so we'll just put it on neutral and coast. So apply some brakes and slow down. I need to throw that switch so it's aligned correctly, and that switch is aligned correctly. So obviously running a train is not like driving your car where you just kind of steer it, point on the road. You are limited because you got to follow the rails. There's no other way about it. So to get from here to there is not necessarily a direct maneuver like it'd be in a truck or an automobile. You have to zigzag your way through all this complex network of track and switches. So we'll apply our brake now, and then throw that switch, put it back in forward, take our brake off, and now that one needs to be switched. That's okay, that's okay, that's okay, and that one's okay. We go forward, up into this area up here, throw that switch, and back up, and then back forward. By no means an easy process. As soon as we clear these points here, we'll throw that switch. Looks like we have to go a little bit further. There we go. Now we can put it in reverse. Just make sure that switch is still, yep, that's correct.
Detector milepost 0.0.
The last switch that we throw, but being courteous people that we are, we're going to put all the other switches back to the way they should. That's the back of our train right there. We just hauled. And we just put the main line back the way it should.
Detector milepost 0.0. No defects. Total axles 136.
Now we'll
Train
go back
speed
into reverse.
37 mph. Detector out.
Put some gas. Oops. I suppose this is going to be a work of art to get that in just right, because using these brakes and stopping these heavy locomotives, it's not like you've got precise control, so you have to bring it in, I would imagine, fairly slow. Imagine they're going to give this thing a bath, fill it up, get ready for the next crew. And we can go home and go to bed after a full night's work bringing this train in from Toledo. See how that works. That's sticking out a little bit on that side, but close enough. Turn our lights off and we'll turn it over to the yard crew. It's now their engine, and we'll call that a successful mission. Hope you enjoyed that. This was the TRAINZ 2010 edition of the CSX Saginaw Subdivision. We did the nocturnal navigation. And we'll see you next time. This is Grandpa 1955.